Killer Mike makes professionals out of Crips and Bloods. We're selling Crip-a-Cola and Blood Pop. And there's no more White Jesus. Coming up next on episodes 3 and 4 of Trigger Warning with Killer Mike.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, welcome everyone. So glad to have you back. We are covering episodes 3 and 4 of season 1 of Trigger Warning with Killer Mike. And I am here with my lovely co-host.
What's up, guys? TK Trinidad.
And I am AJ. Welcome, guys. So, let's get started. Episode 3, White Gang Privilege.
Ooh.
He opened it up, and he opened up talking about Hell's Angels. What did you think about that? What were your thoughts?
It's kind of one of those things where I've seen Hell's Angels, and, well, he kind of opened it up with saying that we glorify gangs. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you can think of Scarface, you can think of Godfather, all that stuff, and those are big cult movies that, you know, people love. And it's one of those things where you think of Hell's Angel, and when I'm thinking like the white dudes on bikes, they're serving folks. You don't think of them shooting people up.
Right.
But they probably have done that, because I do remember kind of stories here and there of that happening. So it's kind of one of those things like, okay, they are a business.
Yes. So what he was trying to do was he wanted to kind of bring the same strategy to black gangs. And try to make them into fraternities, and make them into a corporation, and, you know, try to monetize them. So he sought out Crips, which is a gang, and Bloods. So he interviewed with Crips and just tried to make them start a business, a hood business, if you say. So what did you think about that and their idea of trying to come up with a soda?
Well, I think we had discussed this 2 weeks ago. It's like businesses and black-owned businesses, I think, is on a decline. And it's like one of those things that if you are doing something illegal, and you see these in movies too, where people like Power.
Power.
He was doing something, Ghost was doing something illegally, and then he wanted to transfer to something legal so he can move out of the illegal business.
Right.
Because nobody wants to go to jail.
Right, true.
So, you know, he is providing an option. It's like, okay, well, you guys are allegedly doing this business.
Yes.
Why not try to do this business? And the Coke business, it makes sense. Coca-Cola business, it makes sense because so many people do drink that.
They do. And
So
it rhymes. Crip-a-Cola,
yeah.
Coca-Cola.
So it makes sense. Like, why not give them that option or that fire to like start this business?
Yes, I do feel like there are a lot of smart people in the hood. It's a lot of smart people that have businesses, hood businesses, if you will. So yeah, I just feel like if they had the tools and opportunities to further their thoughts, I feel like they could be very successful. But the issue, and you know, those type of neighborhoods is they don't have the resources to. You know, further their thoughts and their dreams, their ideas. So I definitely appreciate him even bringing that idea to them. Like, listen, you can go farther than this. You just really have to work hard and put your mind to it. Yeah, there's a lot of creative people. There's a lot of smart and creative people.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, even if you think back in the day as far as running numbers and stuff like that, those.
Yeah,
you have to count.
Even drug dealers, like, people can say what they want to say, but you think about drugs, they're businessmen. They know how to run a business. They know how to keep things in check, count their money. So I just feel like if they took those tools and used them in another way that was more legal,
right?
I honestly feel like it would be a lot of businesses in those. They just don't have the resources.
But the funny thing is, you know, when they went to the bank and, you know, they pretty much kind of said, look, they sell marijuana. There's folks that do it here. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it's just like, well, how is it like, well, obviously, you know, certain states it's legal and not legal, but the fact that people are still going to jail for this when literally in another state over or across, you know, state, it's just like, it's legal. So it's one of those things where it's... Yeah. It's kind of time.
Yeah, I love how he said that they were trailblazing it for in Atlanta. I'm like, well, you got to start somewhere. If it's legal in a few states. It's legal in California, in D.C.
Colorado.
It's like, so, I mean, why not just do all the... It's going to soon get there one day.
Yeah, one day.
Or 1 year. So, next, moving on to Crip-a-Cola. Would you walk around and go to the store with drinking a bottle of Crip-a-Cola?
Yeah.
You would?
Well, here's the thing. From what I know, and folks, like, people know who you're affiliated with and who you're not affiliated with, and they'll know if you're not affiliated at all. So me walking to a gas station buying Crip-a-Cola, I don't look like
weird. I mean,
I don't look like I don't look gang affiliated. I don't have gang ties. I don't look like I have gang ties. And most folks who are in the gang in gangs usually can tell whether you are or you're not. You know, there's some folks who are kind of on the cusp, but that's, you know, that's a decision making thing.
Right.
So as far as buying a bottle of Crip-a-Cola,
Crip-a-Cola and Blood Pop.
I mean, supporting black business.
Support the black businesses. So I did, when he said that some of the image of the gang, it has a bad image, a history. So it would be hard to sell because it's associated with negative things. But however, you had, you know, Hell's Angel and other.
I think you said Andrew Jackson on the dollar bill.
Yeah, a lot of other races like white people that were basically getting famous and support and just acknowledged for the crime. Right. But it's like, why can't the black people also? Why does the bad image have to stay with black people but not with other races?
I think it's revisionist history. Like if you think of George Bush Jr., how, you know, when he was in office, people weren't feeling him. But because of the current president, now everybody's like, oh my gosh, he was such a great president. And it doesn't really matter where you fall because it's like it was so long ago. I think, what was that, almost more than 12 years ago or something like that? It was so long ago that it's just like you don't remember all the little nuances. You just know that in your mind, this president was better than this president.
Right. So
I think it's the same thing where it's just like, depending on the situation, if you think that, okay, well, there's a negative tied to my name or my brand or my business, not remembering that, especially in this current day and age, it's like less than a 12-hour news cycle. Nobody's gonna be really watching for you, barring that you don't, you know, do any type of like R. Kelly stuff. But nobody's really watching for you like that. So it's just like you should just move on and continue on with whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah. And Mario, he was talking to Mario. First of all, before Killer Mike even said anything, I was like, what is up with Mario? He just had something to say for literally everything. And Killer Mike really put him in his place. He got a little hot. He got bothered. Mario was very bothered. But I just feel like he was just justifying everything without really taking a second to listen. He just wanted his point to be heard. But it is true. You know, we do glorify white criminals and crime all of the time. But it's, so Mario.
I mean, you know, we have a lot of people like that. It's, I mean, you have the Twitter thugs, and you have people who are just set in their ways and they don't want to listen to other people's point of view. That doesn't mean you have to agree with them.
Right.
And that was a good thing when, you know, Killer Mike, and he said this on plenty of interviews, where it's just like, you know, the folks who you're condemning the most or you have the most stereotypes against, then maybe you should at least interact with them so that if it's the case, then you can at least base your stereotype on like, no, I went to this situation on several occasions and this was the outcome of it.
Right.
Versus, oh, you watch this on TV, therefore this applies to everybody.
Right. And I love how at the end he had them come out so that everyone can meet each other. Right. Because, you know, that is how you solve a lot of problems, just by talking and communicating. You know, all the world needs a little bit of love. Love.
I don't know about love.
So.
Just the love part.
Respect.
Just, I think, opening your ears and communication.
Opening your ears and communication.
Yeah.
And just being, you know, open-minded. So, yeah, I love how he did that. And I love that when he was talking to one of the Bloods that they were vegan. I was like, we do have healthy thugs out here.
Oh, my gosh. It's a thing. It's a whole different...
We have healthy thugs. Yeah. I was like, what?
It's a whole different society out here now. So, I mean, why not?
And he talked about educated gang members. There's educated Crips out here. I heard of Crips being in a fraternity, like from an HBCU, and also... men in a Crip. I'm just, you know, I didn't know how you could do that, but
well, I mean, they're everywhere. It should be an incorporation, and obviously, I don't know the whole inner workings, but the fact that apparently the sets that, if you look to the Crips when they first introduced themselves and they said those sets are actually from LA. So like they're everywhere, and you know, you either get jumped in or you don't, or and a lot of people too are by affiliation. So they claim that set even though they're not. You know, they didn't get jumped in.
Yes, that is true. So that about wraps it up for episode 3. So let's move on to episode 4, New Jesus. Now, with this one, I was a little confused a bit. I just feel like he was a little bit of everywhere. He started off with White Jesus. Then it went into
the book of Sleepy.
Yeah, the Sleepy. And then at the end, he started to start. But then when the people were talking, they were talking about how they need this. I didn't see how it all connected. It was a little bit confused. It was all over the place. Killer Mike, just like what?
Yeah, I think this could have been this and a couple other episodes could have been expanded into, and hopefully he does get a second season.
Yes.
But this could be expanded into something more, because there was a lot of topics that he touched on that could be an episode in itself.
Yeah,
like the fact that when he went to Creflo Dollar and he was talking to them, I mean, he didn't even mention TD Jakes, and that might have been for certain reasons, or maybe not. But you could talk about Black churches,
yes,
and the mega churches in particular, and if they're helping communities or if they're not helping communities, and like that's a whole another thing. So there's I think he was trying to cram a lot of stuff into an episode where it could have been a whole series in itself.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I do understand where he was trying to go with it. However, I do feel like his experience was maybe like his personal experience, and he brought that and kind of generalized it. I do feel like that communities, churches do help communities. It just all depends on the church. It's all really your personal experience, because I've been in situations where churches, they have a lot of free programs, free events. Celebrities come, it's free. You're not paying for any concert. So, they do give back. But and then he also said something that churches promote. They see trying to promote individual growth instead of reaching out to the community or trying to help you be better in the community, which I disagree with, because like I said, I've seen it, but it all depends on what you've seen, your personal experiences. I
think he was going off of the community. So you have the Black community in the whole and all of America, and say certain percentage of that community goes to church, but yet still we still don't have certain privileges or certain things that are going on. So therefore, it's like if you're going to church and you're not being successful, or you're not being successful in personal or professional or all that stuff, then it's like, okay, well, why are you going to church if you're not gaining anything from it? Gotcha. So I think that's I think he's questioning the religion versus the spirituality part of it.
Okay,
that's what it seemed like. But
so then he went to visit Sleepy, who ain't sleepy.
The homie. Yeah,
I'm like, his name's Sleepy, but he's not sleepy. He just look a little
he looks sleepy and high.
High.
Yeah,
there you go. I know
high.
Can you say that? Yeah, no, he did. He looked like he was something. So I'm like, okay. So he wants to start a book of sleep, and he was trying to get someone to publish the book of sleep. And of course, she said,
well, the writer was who was the writer again? Donald Goins, his son, which is like, I believe it was his son. It was a really big Black writer from back in the day. That's his son, which is huge, because I think that individual wrote several books. So it's like the fact that he had him come along and write that. I don't know if the Book of Sleepy exists, but that's a huge thing too.
I was waiting to hear something out of the Book of Sleep. I think I wanted a little bit more. I can't get like, what is in it? Like,
well, I think when the people went to sleep, the initial part, the first group of people went to sleep and then they came back, they were documenting that, so they were going to use that to add to the Book of Sleepy. So Book of Sleepy didn't exist at that point.
Okay,
they're adding to it.
Yeah, I need to hear like a.
You want to hear a verse
I want to hear
chapter?
something like, yeah, I need to hear a chapter. I'm like, what does this sound like? I don't know. So I know I did see one of the slogans. It was F Hope, Do Dope. And that's what he put. So I don't know if that was their motto or if that was a creed. It just was a little, Killer Mike, it was everywhere. Help me out, Killer Mike. 'Cause I'm like, what? But I did understand when he did talk to the Black people and just how their struggles.
Yeah.
So no, that was all definitely relatable, and it is true. We feel the pressure to just go hard all the time, but you always have to prove yourself, and just sometimes you just want to like rest, not be so hard, not have to take care, just rest. So I do feel like that was important. That is important. We do devalue sleep a lot.
Well, it's devaluing sleep, and then also, I mean, if you take it back to like slavery, how they used the Bible and saying, well, these are trials and tribulations that you have to go through. And it's like, no, I'm going through these trials and tribulations because you made a decision for me, and then you're using this book to So there's that as well, where I think that's one of the problems that Killer Mike is trying to address, which is like, okay, well, if you're gonna believe in this, then believe in it wholeheartedly, or at least research the topic and the history that, or research the Bible and the history that goes along with it.
Yeah, and also back in the day, they did rip out, which one was it? I would think it was Exodus, whichever one where they was free, they was freed in the Bible.
Exodus, yeah.
Exodus, okay, yeah, they did rip that out. So all the Bibles, they never had that because they didn't want them to
feel like they
know that. Yeah. So it was definitely manipulated. To of course, to please them. And they say if you can't read everything, then you don't know what's really going on because you're just going off what someone's telling you.
Right.
So yeah, that was.
And then you can also swing it and make it into your favor too.
Exactly. So that was, I definitely agree with that. So, but the book was essentially, the Book of Sleep is about peace and tranquility. So yeah, it was neat. I just think that, I don't know, the ending, it was just a little weird for me. Then he got on the sidewalk preaching, and he got sleepy, just looking high. I'm just like, Killer Mike, what is going on right now?
I think he just really wanted to, if you don't shake things up, then like almost question the authority, then the people who are going to that authority won't question the authority as well. So I think he might have been just trying to present, with the amount of episodes that he had, I think this episode was to present all those questions.
Yes.
Like, okay, well, I don't know where you're going with this, but, this particular thing I found interesting. Let me look into this. So, I think he just kind of gave a platter of options, and then as long as you do something, it's like the whole black business thing. It's like, oh, well, we've heard about doing black businesses, but then you actually see the fact that they're on a decline. You actually see that there's certain places where you can't find any black businesses. Then it's actually gets you to actually do something consciously versus like, oh, I'll get to that eventually.
Yeah.
So I think he's just more providing the question.
Starting to get the conversation going. He wants to open up, to get people to start thinking and like, a little ponder.
Yeah, less sheep, because you can be going to church for 15, 20 years and not be any better.
That is absolutely true. So I think that, just start thinking about your life and just have some soul searching and find your way out there. So I would find your way. You gotta find your way in life. I mean, life is a test. You always want to get better at it and
just be happy with it.
Be
and
happy
just be,
with it.
If you're gonna do spirituality, then like know why you're doing it versus having it passed down.
Yes, know why you're doing it. Have your own reason for doing it. Make your own decisions. I think that's the point. So yes.
Now you've decoded Killer Mike's point.
Killer Mike, I summed up the point. That was the point of it all. So with that being said, this was so great, and this basically wraps up episodes 3 and 4. Guys, catch us here next week. We will be here same time, same place. I am AJ. You can catch me on Instagram at Crimson Pearl, and you can catch me on YouTube at AJ Talks.
And you can find me on everything at TK Trinidad.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.